With this session update, I'm Shannon Lurkey. Following today's Senate floor session, Senate Majority Leader Paul Gazelka and Minority Leader Susan Kent separately took questions from the press about the special session and the progress of budget negotiations. Lawmakers have until June 30th to pass a new state budget to avoid a government shutdown. Here are those press events.
All right, so we opened up the special session. I think you can see from the Senate perspective, both Republicans and Democrats were ready to roll up our sleeves to get the job done. I think that's important for Minnesota. The fact is, if we did not get done by July 1, the ramifications are too serious for Minnesota. The courts ruled in 2017 that they no longer will step in, which means virtually everything would not be funded. So that's your corrections, long-term care facilities, any place that requires or that would get state dollars suddenly gets none. And so it's very, very serious this time. Before that, it was about 80% of everything got funded. And so we're going to get done. It's not easy. Most everything is together. There are a few things that we have a few loose ends, but it is absolutely coming together. The Speaker, myself, and the Governor, we're going to get it done.
Is police reform coming together?
Police reform, there have been a number of things that have been accepted. I think in the end, later this week, if they don't finish, the rest of it goes overboard. That's not uncommon. That's what will happen if we get too far into this week. If there's things that are not yet done, they go overboard. I think I heard the transportation just wrapped up, so that's another big one. I do think that the eviction moratorium, if it hasn't wrapped up, it's right there, ready to wrap up. So you see all these last dominoes starting to fall. Everybody knows that we've got to get done.
Can you tell us what has been accepted on police reform? Where are the areas of agreement?
No, I'll just mention one. There was a request to have body cameras on conservation officers. That's one that we just recently accepted. I do believe there's at least 4 other police accountability measures, but I don't know what they are off the top of my head.
The Speaker said to be ready for July 14th. Don't make any plans, because there will be another special session. The House Speaker mentioned that to all of us. Your thoughts on the special powers?
So our plan is to be done with emergency powers by the time session ends. It does require the House and Senate. I think if the eviction moratorium goes away, there really isn't anything other than providing language for the governor related to vaccine and testing. That allows him to get the resources from the federal government. So there shouldn't be anything else. So emergency powers really should end. And I think there's at least conversations to at least talk about that.
Senator, you introduced a bill today which could either be, as I said, brilliant or really a bad idea, in which you have this continuing resolution idea. Can you talk to that? I mean, it would remove deadline pressure from people.
Yeah, so we submitted or dropped a bill today that says if we don't finish, there's a continuing resolution that means that area would continue no matter what. We did speak to I had my leadership team speak to the House to make sure we're not trying to blindside anybody. We're just trying to say, look, if for some reason some budget breaks down, that should have a continuing resolution. But most everything is wrapping up, and I fully expect everything to be wrapped up.
I heard you say 10 days on the House floor. That's I'm sorry, on the Senate floor. That's also a number that Speaker Hortman gave. Is that a number that you guys have agreed to?
Now, the question is 10 days what we agreed to? No. We just know that it takes 3 days to get up and running. Our first bills we start looking at are Thursday. We know that the House takes a lot longer, so we're trying to provide enough room in there. We don't plan on meeting over the weekend in the Senate. They may need to do that in the House, so we'll see. But I think it's going to be around 10 days.
Are you and Leader Dow playing good cop, bad cop here? He's talking about keeping things open and has conditions on this. You're talking about working together, and you even kind of had a moment with Senator Kent about how you could do that. Are you urging Leader Dow to do anything in particular to keep this going?
So the minority, both the House and the Senate, have very little role other than to either mess it up or not mess it up. The question is the bonding bill. That's where they have to work. It's our responsibility as the majority to get the job done, and so I don't know what the House is going to do, the Democrats and Republicans, but you can see in the Senate that we know that we got to work together to get it done, and we'll do that.
For a number of years, you and the Republicans in charge of the Senate have been subject of a lot of accusations and protesters from the left. Today was the first time I can recall that I saw signs attacking you from the right. Can you talk about that? Can you react to that?
So there's a number of people that are very frustrated that the governor has continued to keep emergency powers, as am I. But the fact is, without the House, we cannot remove emergency powers. I do think we need sweeping reforms on emergency powers. Across the country, we have over 300 bills submitted from Democrat and Republican legislators saying, let's get rid of emergency powers. First, we need to end emergency powers today, this session, and then we need to work through what do we do in the future. I propose that we do a constitutional amendment, send it to the people to make sure that it's a little bit clearer what kind of authority the governors have. It was too broad. I think that's the thing that I think people need to know. And without having to work with the legislative branch, you do not get the best results. Having those powers for about a year and a half is just unacceptable.
Does it make any difference to the legislative process to be back, to have everybody back, to have people here?
Yeah, so the question is, does it make a difference for everybody to be back? And I will say it works much, much better. There are so many things that we do that are pieces of information we get between meetings that we actually then bring together to solve the problem, and that's what happens now. And it's a lot more fun. It's interesting to have the crowds outside in the rotunda. It's almost not used to it because it's been over a year, but it's nice because it says we're back to normal, and that's really good.
Are you confident that the Public Safety Working Group can get a bill together without the intervention from you and the Speaker and the Governor?
So the question is, am I confident that the working groups, and now would be in committees, are going to be able to get everything done? I'm like 95% confident. I think most of them will be done, but if there's one that isn't, then that would be the only time that myself and the Speaker with the Governor would step in and say, we got to get it done. We cannot wait. But what I would say is, in every one of these budget areas, most of it is already agreed to. It's just a few things here and there, and it's things that one side or the other really wants, and in the end, if the other side doesn't want it, it's got to go overboard.
You said this morning on the radio that the clean car standards, you got some sort of affirmation that they wouldn't take effect till January of 2025, which was the case all along. So what did you get to give away the block there?
Yeah, there's no win on the California air and emission standards for cars. It's just the clarification that they cannot implement. I believe it's January 2024. But the point is, it's after the next election cycle, so that we have this battle to say, does Minnesota really want Los Angeles air standards? Do we want to force car dealers to have 7% stock of electric cars, which really only are purchased mostly by wealthy? Or do we want to try to work through an agreement that fits Minnesota, fits rural issues that people have to have? And it's a battle that we just have to keep going. And so we'll see, but that's where we're at on that.
Just to clarify on your continuing resolution, that would mean that if everything falls apart, you still wouldn't go to a government shutdown, is that right?
Correct. So there may be one, there's not going to be, but we submitted language today because you just due diligence as you make sure, and if there was one budget area that for some reason was not done, we could pass that one as a lights on, basically, that it would continue.
Senator, will we see the fingerprints of the big three, you, the Speaker, and the Governor, on some of these deals? I mean, did you, as those people came in, say, let's take housing as an example, are your fingerprints on the deal?
So the question is, are there the fingerprints of leadership on some of these deals? Yes. We certainly let the committees do their work, or the working groups. We did not try to get involved until they got stuck. And then we'd have conversations with them about how do we get unstuck. And then we'd send them back to make it work. And it's worked really, really well. And so, the hard part is the parts that you want that the other side doesn't. Some of those we're trying to look for trades. Other things just go overboard.
So did you say which day this week they have to finish up before you tell them it's got to be closed?
By midweek, I'll leave it at that.
So you think 10 days, though?
I think 10 days, yep. So, and again, the House moves a little slower than the Senate, so we'll have to watch them. I think I mentioned here, but we won't be here over the weekend in the Senate. There's enough cooperation and working together to finish these things that we can pick it up come Monday after.
How confident are you in a bonding bill?
So the bonding bill is the only one that the minority must be involved to happen, and so that will really depend on the two minorities about whether we have a bonding bill or not. We set it at $500 million. Some of that will come from the federal stimulus, and then the rest through the process. Tom Bach is a very, very savvy negotiator, knows his issues, and so he'll be working with the leadership on the House side, and we'll see. But the minorities, that's where they have influence.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Good. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to yet another special session at the Minnesota Senate. Here we go.
Hey, were you aware
it's good to have people.
I'm sorry. Were you aware of this bill that the Speaker, or the Majority Leader, introduced this morning on this continuing resolution that if you don't reach a deal in a certain budget area, that you would just go back to current funding levels?
No, I have not seen that.
Good idea, bad idea?
We've had that conversation about, should the Minnesota legislature adopt continuing resolutions the way they do in Washington, and historically people have said no, we need to do our jobs, and there's no reason this year we can't get our jobs done.
You seem to suggest you're not going to throw up any roadblocks. Was that perhaps a message aimed at your minority peers in the House?
That's a message to the people of Minnesota. We have a state surplus, we have federal funds, people have been working hard on these negotiations. It sounds like we're making progress. We need to do our jobs. And as I said, we should do them sooner rather than later, because we know that this just costs more to the Minnesota taxpayers the later we get towards June 30th.
Any word on a bonding bill?
It sounds like conversations are going well. People are sort of thinking it through in different ways. I believe that from what I'm hearing, it is likely that there would be support from Senate DFL for what we're hearing about. I don't know if the House GOP is going to be willing to participate, and they could kind of once again be the reason we can't get this done at a time when it should be pretty easy.
Do your members intend to try to change these bills through amendments on the floor? Once they get here, are you just accepting them as being negotiated?
Right now all we've got is some spreadsheets, so I'm not going to comment until we see the bills, But hopefully these are being negotiated in good faith. We will have a chance to see them, and I hope these are reasonable compromises that our caucus, obviously not universally, but we will be able to get some support for all, if not most, if not all of these bills.
You think there's a housing deal on the eviction moratorium?
I've been hearing encouraging news. I'm not in those conversations either, but it really does sound like things are starting to come together on a lot of fronts that have been challenging.
We just had an angry press conference on Thursday of last week, so...
Well, it's the infamous blow-up, I think, and then we start getting stuff done. It's just June.
The Majority Leader mentioned that there were about 4 or 5 police reform measures that are agreed upon thus far. Can you shed any light on what those are?
Also not in those conversations. I've had that same information, and we just know we need to make meaningful reforms, and we know there are places where there is broad agreement, and there's no excuse not to do something that would make a difference.
This is the first day everyone's back in session. There are people in here. I didn't see any pushing for a lot of the DFL's key agenda items. I saw a lot of people from the right, some union things. Does it matter? Do you need crowds here?
It's always what I'm excited about, and when I walked into this building earlier this morning, I was just excited to hear the hum of people back in the people's house. That is exciting. It is a sign of progress in a lot of ways. There were definitely some people out there who were pushing for good, trained labor to work in our refineries, for example, including one just down the road from where I live. And we fully support that, and I hope we can get there, because I think that's something everybody should agree to. But it's good to have people back. Obviously, it's a little different than it is under normal circumstances, but it's great to have people back in the Capitol.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.